Aloha, good day. It's 12:36 on a Thursday, September 12th. We started work today at 5 o'clock. Came in at 5 o'clock, hooked up to a load of scaffolding and took it down to the University of Hawaii student campus. Spotted that, and then we ran over to the international shipping terminal, waited for them to open up at 7, and took a load of product to a new store that was opening in Waikiki. That's how the day got started. But we just finished up our 6th movement of the day. Brought in an empty from a food distributor. They had a load of shelving delivered. Now I don't know what they want us to do. Bob Dilly medicine. 10-4. So there's a food distributor about a mile away that has 2 empties. They want me to go pick up one of them up. We can do that. Gee, good try, I forgot. Too much paperwork. We'll do that. So let's head over there and pick up, what'd she say, 47 or 48? No, 48 or 49. So yeah, we were off yesterday. While I was off, I noticed one of my comments, and I get this question quite often, but not in the comments. Almost every day I'll meet somebody who watches my videos on YouTube, and they usually have a question or two. But the question is, where are you from? And I think that's a good question. At least once a month I try to answer that question, because every month there's about 20 new subscribers. But during that month, thousands of people have watched my videos. 200 to 300 people a day. Oh, no, an episode. So 2 to 3 an episode, so a month I make. So yeah, a couple thousand. Anyway, I get the question a lot. Back when I was a tour bus driver, that was also a question I got quite often. People get on the tour bus here in Hawaii and they go, "You're not Hawaiian? Where are you from?" So it's a good question. So we'll answer that question today. Where am I from? I am from the United States. Hold on, we got to outgate first. 1798.
Thank you.
It'll look weird if I'm talking. All right, thank you. So I was born in Washington State. Here we go. See what I mean? This radio, you hit a pothole and the radio turns on. Turn it down. So I was born in Washington State. My heritage on my mom's side, grandma's family, they all came from Sweden. Grandma came over on the boat during the big migration after World War I from Sweden to the United States. My Swedish part of the family, they were all dairy farmers. My grandfather, his family goes back a little bit further in the United States, probably 4 or 5 generations. And they all worked in the logging industries. They were loggers. My mom grew up in a logging camp on the Columbia River up until she was old enough to go to school. My grandfather, who I've met once when I was 5, his father was in the logging industry, but he became a musician. So he worked in the grocery store during the day, and he played music at night, German music, polka music. And that's how he met my grandmother. She was one of those flappers back in the day. They got married, had my mom, and then got divorced. And my mom was basically raised by my great-grandparents until she was old enough to go to school. My grandmother was a beautician. My mom, she was a social worker. Met my dad in college, and my dad was a longshoreman. My dad lived most of his life in one town, living and working, and rarely traveled. My mom loved to travel, and when I was 5, she remarried my stepdad. So I don't know my dad real well because I was raised more by my stepdad, who worked for the power company. So when they married, we left Washington State when I was 5 and moved to the U.S. Virgin Islands. That's where I grew up. That's my roots. When people ask me where I'm from, my roots are in the Caribbean, West Indies. I tell people, you cut me, I'm going to bleed West Indian, because that's the culture I know growing up. I was the only white kid in the class growing up in the early 60s, which is when the civil rights movement was going on. So it was a very interesting upbringing. I never went to a private school. I've always gone to public school. My brother and I were pretty much juvenile delinquents, and my mom had her hands full raising me and my brother. I remember my godparents really well because they took care of us a lot, or tried to take care of us a lot. One of my favorite stories is when my godmother would come over to hang out with my mom, and she would look around and go, "Where are your demon kids?" So we were kind of rascals, but we were living out in the country in the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I can tell people I grew up very country and very island life. I'm used to the island weather. The Virgin Islands is hotter than Hawaii by about 10 degrees, but the winds blow about 10 miles an hour faster. The biggest complaint by tourists in the Virgin Islands is usually something like, does it always blow? Is it always this windy? And yes, because if there is no wind, you cook. So that's where I grew up. When I was graduating from high school, I spent 1 year at the College of the Virgin Islands, which is now the University of the Virgin Islands. I was studying construction technology. I'm very mechanically minded. And right out of high school, I had several jobs. I worked as was a boat captain because I had a 100-ton master's license, so I could drive up to a 100-ton, 100-passenger license. Because I worked on boats every day after school, so I had quite a bit of experience in that. I was a certified scuba instructor, dive master, and I also worked as a waiter at nights, waiting tables. And then on the side, on the weekends, I would do construction. So we're here at the food distributor. I don't see our containers. But let me double check. Okay, so we're going to go inside and see where they took the containers, because they have several warehouses they could have relocated them to. Let's go do that. Alright, so they moved them to their off-site lot. So I get out of high school, I'm working basically for the Sugarbird Hotel. I'm driving their ferry boat, running the ferry between the two islands. I'm doing charters on the weekends sometimes. Hurricane season, when hurricanes would come through the town, I'd get hired by people to stay on their boat during the hurricane, try to take care of it. I would deliver boats from the Virgin Islands to St. Martin. I used to love doing that. $300. Good money. $300. I'd leave the Virgin Islands, I'd sail out at night, sail all night, wake up the next day, sail into St. Martin. $300 and an airplane ticket to go home. $300 back then was like $3,000 today. I do that every now and then. And remember, this is before GPS, this is before cell phones, this is a lot different type of navigation. So I thought I was going to be in the boating industry most of my life, but I found out after working on crew boats that I didn't like living in a closet. So a hurricane came along, basically wiped out the hotel I was working at in the Virgin Islands. Hurricane David, and then like 2 weeks later, Hurricane Frederick came by and took the roof off the apartment building where I was living. At that point, I moved from the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Thomas, up to Bay Shore, New York, on Long Island. That's where my mom, my brother, and my sister were at. Lived in New York for 7 years. I loved the education I got living in New York. It's one of the greatest cities in the world, of course. But I definitely didn't want to live my whole life there. After growing up in the Caribbean, I knew I'd much rather live someplace where the weather's nice. And I hated the winter weather. And so every winter I would look for some place to go. Sometimes I'd go down to the Virgin Islands. And I had a friend that I went to high school with who, I think these might be the containers right here. 262-802. 255138. Let's check the list. Yep, that's them. So yeah, then every winter I would get out of town, and I started coming here to Hawaii back in 1983. I think think I came back in '85. And I was alternating between the Virgin Islands and Hawaii. And I knew I wanted to make Hawaii my home. And finally, in 1987, I moved to Hawaii with $700 in my pocket and a girlfriend that I'd been hanging out with for 2 years. We were both working at the same place in a messenger service in Manhattan. And so, moved to Hawaii. My friend from high school got me a job as a cashier working at a 1-hour photo. And so that's how I got involved in the photo industry. To this day, we work on the weekends doing sports photography. That all came out of the 1-hour photo. And then one of the photographs that we developed while I was working there was a bunch of accidents of tour buses. And that led to me driving tour buses for 10 years here in Hawaii for a company called Trans-Hawaiian. I did all the tours, Circle Island Tour, a Little Circle Island Tour, Polynesian Culture Center, the Luau, Arizona City Tour, and then all the shuttles like the Arrival Sightseeing. There's somebody else is coming to get the other one, so we're going to hurry up here. All right, we're all hooked up. I got a co-worker, he's checking make sure it's empty for me. He's picking up the other one. Oh, there's something inside.
Somebody thought they could put salaries inside here. Somebody else told them they cannot.
Yeah. If they had a booking number to take them eastbound, I would take them in, but we don't have that, so they said leave it here for now. So.
Yeah, well, yeah. We usually use Matson.
Right. Yeah.
They probably got our own. So
yeah, because we use Matson for ours, so we'll see what happens. But, yeah, for now they said just leave it there and we'll figure it out. Thank you. So yeah, our container was full of empty pallets, which is, the company, the food distributor that we're hauling for, they do the same thing everybody else does. You can ship those back to the mainland for free. And there's always a shortage on the mainland for pallets to ship to Hawaii. So that's what's going on. It's just that we weren't made aware of it. So now dispatch wants us to go back to the shipping terminal and pick up LTL, which would have been our next move. But now it's going to be leaving. So I'm driving tour buses for 10 years. First Gulf War comes along, completely wipes out the tourist industry. Nobody wanted to fly during the first Gulf War because they were afraid of terrorists. So at that time I basically walk across the street from where I'm driving tour buses, and there's a garbage company called BFI, Browning Ferris Industries. And I started driving roll-offs for them for actually $3 more than what I was making driving tour buses. Tour buses I didn't make as much, but I made tips. Garbage trucks I didn't make tips, but I made a lot of overtime. At least 10 hours of overtime every week. So I started driving roll-offs. I did that for 2.5 years, and then I drove front load for another a total of almost 8 years, so about 5 years of driving front load. And by that time I had broken up with my girlfriend. When I was driving tour buses, I got married. I was married for 5 years, no children, got divorced, started driving garbage trucks, met my current wife. Been married 27 years, and driving garbage trucks, the front load especially. I mean, it seemed like everything was hurting. And the hours, the overtime was getting to me. And so I had a friend I drove tour buses with that was working in the freight company, the one I'm working for now. And he said, why don't you come over to DHX and I'll teach you how to drive tractor trailer. So came over to DHX, started at the bottom in air freight, and just slowly worked my way up to the next largest truck. And after about 2.5 years of driving every other truck, I finally started training with the tractor trailers. Got my tractor trailer license, and so I've been driving tractor trailers since 2004, 20 years. Thanks to the tour industry or the tour bus driving, I don't mind talking and driving at the same time. That's basically what I did for 10 years. And because of the garbage company, I was a relief driver. I did everybody's route. Whenever they were on vacation, I would take over their route. So I know the island pretty well. I'm 64 at the moment, plan to retire when I'm 65. So this should be my last year of driving full-time. Full-time to me is 40 hours. Even though I don't even know what a 40-hour week is. So to me, 40 hours like I don't know. I always work on my day off. I'm not working around the house. I work with my brother doing sports photography. My feeling when it comes to work is we work every day, 8 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week. You also play 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then you should probably get 8 hours of sleep every day. So sleep, play, work every day. Makes for a nice balanced life. So we're headed to Bravo 16, stall 33. Pick up our 7th movement of the day, full 40-foot container, I think. Yeah. Take it back to our terminal, put it on the dock. So my favorite thing to do when I play is get around the water. I love anything water sports. I love nature. I love hiking. I used to hunt. I don't hunt anymore, but I used to fish. I don't fish anymore. I prefer to cook. Bravo 16. That's 1633. So we're going to have to crank down the landing gear. Seems to be one of those days where not much is going right at the moment. But we'll get through it. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm from, who I am. When I retire, I plan to fix up the houses I'm living in and maybe buy another house. What I would love to do is sell the house that I'm actually living in right now and buy a fixer-upper, or buy 2 fixer-uppers. And that would give me 3 homes here in Hawaii. My wife's not too keen on that. She kind of wants to sell. We have 2 homes. She wants to sell one and just fix up the other one. I guess you can do that too. We usually do what she wants. But that is about it for now. We're going to get back to work here and see if we can't actually move something. we're shutting it down. It was like 250. Oh well. So we came in at 5. We'll be out of here by 3:15. We did 8 movements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there was at least 2 movements that didn't pan out, like that one that was full of pallets, and there was one earlier that day where we picked it up from the international shipping terminal, and then it still had a customs hold on the container, so take it back. Drove 58 miles. Easy day. This is pretty typical. This is what I would say is the norm. 8 movements, 60 to 80 miles. So pretty much on the easy side of things. Head on home, come back tomorrow at 6 o'clock, they say. We'll probably pick up the container that I delivered this morning. It's up at the University of Hawaii. And the universities and shopping centers are 2 places where tractor trailers, you really got to keep the head on a swivel, because the university have what we call zombies. They're people that look at their phone, and well, if you're blocking a sidewalk or a crosswalk even, they'll be looking at their phone, looking at the crosswalk, and they will walk right into your truck. And I had it happen to me a couple of times, but I talked to the guys that work up there, and he said, oh yeah, it happens like almost every hour. So yeah, you really got to be careful in those locations with schools and shopping centers, 2 places where people will just walk right out in front of the truck or walk right into the truck. But yeah, we're gonna head on home. We got a tofu dish, a tofu stir fry with some bok choy, carrots, mushrooms, onions, and it's going into like this roasted onion marinade salad dressing. I had it last night on some chicken, and man, it was good. So I'm going to try it on tofu. So I'm going to marinate the tofu, cook it up, and then stir fry that with some vegetables. And we got to make a pot of rice, but that's what's for dinner. Stir fried tofu. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Aloha.